Alright, now we're going to look at composition when we have an x inside instead of a number. So what if you're doing a composition and you don't have a number here, but you have just plain old x? So what happens then? Alright, let's go back up and look at what the functions were here and copy them down. What do we have? We have f of x equals 7x plus 3. And then we had g of x equals 2x squared plus 4x minus 5. Alright, so those are the two functions that were given. And we're asked to find f composed with g of x. Alright, so first we'll work with our definition. F with parentheses, and then we're going to put g inside, and then we'll put x inside. Alright, now remember the first step for the problems we did with the numbers was to put the number into the inside function first and then see what results from that, and then we took the result and put it into the outside function. Okay, so if I do step 1 like I did before, it says to put x into g. So here's g. Put x into g. Alright, well, putting x into g, what's the result of that? Well, the result of that is the equation itself. So that's might be kind of like a silly thing to do. We don't really have anything to do because putting x into equation g is already done for us. The result is 2x squared plus 4x minus 5. Alright, what was the second step that we did before? Well, the second step that we had before was to take that result and put it into the outside function f. So here's our outside function f. Alright, we have 7 times parentheses plus 3. And so we're asked to take the result from the last step and put that into the parentheses. Alright, I'm going to scoot that over a little bit there. Let's just scoot that over. Alright, give ourselves a little more room. Alright. Alright, so we've taken the result from putting x into g, into that inside function, and now we place that result into the outside function f. Okay, and then all we're asked to do at this point then is to simplify. So the last step here is to simplify what's on the right hand side of that equal sign. So I'll distribute the 7 into the parentheses. That gives me 14x squared plus 28x minus 35. And I bring down that plus 3. So I end up with 14x squared plus 28x, was that minus 32. Okay, so f composed with g of x. This is our final simplified answer for that composition. Okay, the next one is a little more interesting because of the simplification phase. But let's see what happens. This time we're asked to do g composed with f of x, which means we're going to start out with g, that first function, we're going to write that with the parentheses, and then we're going to put f inside of it, and then x goes inside of f. So step 1 is to put x inside of equation f. Well, if I put x inside of equation f, then I just get 7x plus 3. So that's kind of a silly first step. Putting x into f, we just get the equation right back out, 7x plus 3. Alright, so we'll move on to step 2. Step 2 says to write the outside function, putting a parentheses in place of x. So 2x squared, that's 2 parentheses squared, plus 4x, that's 4 times parentheses, and then minus 5. Now inside of the parentheses I'm going to write 7x plus 3. So we're taking the old result from step 1, we're putting that everywhere that we have parentheses into that outside function g. Okay, now that's really the college algebra portion, but if I want to simplify, I do have to simplify using order of operations. So we're going to just simplify what comes on the right-hand side of the equal sign. Okay, order of operations says we have to do exponents first. So I am going to square first. Okay, and squaring 7x plus 3 means to multiply 7x plus 3 times itself. So I'm going to write 7x plus 3 times itself, 7x plus 3. Alright, so we're going to square, we're going to do our squaring first. So what do I get when I multiply 7x plus 3 times 7x plus 3? Well, in order to do this, we have to FOIL. Okay, we'll distribute the 2 in a little bit, but first let's FOIL this. I get first times first, that's 49x squared. Outer times the outer, that's 21x. Inner times the inner, that's another 21x. And then last times the last gives me a positive 9. Okay, so when we FOIL that, we get those 4 terms. Now if you wanted to combine like terms at this point, you could. I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so PEMDAS. Can't do anything within the parentheses. The next thing that we actually did was our exponents there. We squared 7x plus 3. We did the squaring, and that led us to FOILing. We FOILed that, and now we're at the multiplication phase. So at this stage, I'm going to distribute in the 2. So I'm going to multiply 2 times everything that's in the first parentheses. What is that? 98x squared plus 42x plus 42x plus 18. Alright, we can do the same thing here. I can distribute the 4. Doing a distribution is really multiplication, and we're in that multiplication phase. So 4 times 7x gives me 28x, plus 4 times 3 is 12, down that minus 5 from the previous step. Alright, now we're just going to combine like terms. We have 98x squared, that's the only x squared term that we have, so no other like terms to that, so that'll just come on down. I have 42x plus 42x, and then I have 28x. Alright, that gives me 112x. Let me just put that into your calculator. So all the x terms added up together give me 112x, and then I have, was it 18 plus 12, that's 30, minus 5 gives me a positive 25. Alright, so composing g with f of x, we end up simplifying and we get 98x squared plus 112x plus 25. Alright, let's go on to the last page here. So here we were doing composition. We had g of x equals x squared minus 3. And we had h of x equals square root of 7 minus x. Okay, so on your notes you can see those. I'm just going to copy them down here so we have a reference point there. Alright. Alright, so we're asked to do g composed with h of x. Okay, the definition of that is we write g, and then inside of that I'm supposed to write h with parentheses, and then we're going to put an x inside. So step 1. Step 1 is to take the inside function and put an x into h. So we're going to take that inside function, put an x. Well, it's kind of silly, because putting an x inside of h gives us a result of the square root of 7 minus x, which is already the original equation. So that's fine. Now here's the result from step 1. Step 2 says to take the outside function g and we're going to write that out without the x, and in place of x we're going to put a parentheses. Now we're supposed to take the previous results and drop that into the parentheses. So square root of 7 minus x, square root of 7 minus x. So the old result is getting put into the outside function in place of the parentheses. Alright, there's the college algebra part. Step 3 says to simplify what's on the right hand side of the equal sign. Square root of something squared just gives me that thing underneath it right back. Talked about that shortcut. Square and square root are always going to end up canceling each other out. We get 7 minus x, bring down the minus 3. 7 minus 3 gives me 4, so we end up with a final answer of 4 minus x. So g composed with h of x, we end up with a final answer of 4 minus x. Alright, last one. H composed with g of x. We're going to start out with function h. And then inside of that we're going to write g. Each function gets its own parentheses. Inside of the inside parentheses we're going to put an x. Alright, so step 1 would be to put x into g. Oops, let's color code. An x into g. There we go. So if I do that, we end up getting parentheses squared, well, x squared minus 3, right? Because we already know what it looks like when we put an x into g. So it's kind of the silly first step, is if I would put an x into g, I get x squared minus 3. So it's already kind of done for me. Step 2 then is to take that outside function h, or that first function h, and we're going to write that without the parentheses, or without the x. We're going to put parentheses in place of the x, and then we're going to take the result from step 1, which is the x squared minus 3, and we're going to put that inside of all the parentheses. Alright, and then that's the college algebra, is to put the x inside the inside function. We get the original equation right back. And then take that result and put it into that first function h in place of where x used to be. Now you want to be careful that you always put parentheses first and then drop the input in, because right here, when we go to simplify, we want to be careful that we remember that that negative is going to get distributed to both terms inside of the parentheses. So it's negative x squared and then positive 3. Okay, and then our final answer turns out to be 10. 7 plus 3 is 10, and then the minus x squared, there's no like terms to that. So we end up with h composed with g of x. Alright, and that's our final answer there.